Hello, Scooby-Doo fans! Welcome to my Season 1, Episode 16 review of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So last time, I continued my playthrough of LEGO Marvel Avengers DLC with the release of Part 3 of my Let's Play, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully this is uploaded the day after that. I don't know how that did, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that and gave that a watch. If you haven't checked it out, you can go right ahead. It should be up on my channel, but today I'll be covering Season 1, Episode 16 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, titled A Night of Fright Is No Delight, which was released on January 10th, 1970. So yeah, like I said last time, this is the first episode of 1970. Now we're getting in just after the new year, so this will be interesting. Let's see if we start off the first episode of the new decade on a good note. So the short synopsis of the episode is: due to Scooby's heroics, he is included in the will of a millionaire. Along with the other heirs, he will only share in this fortune if he spends the night in the Colonel's haunted mansion. However, two green phantoms appear and attempt to frighten the heirs away. So, like last time, and as well as with Go Away Ghost Ship in episode 14, we will be watching. I watched this episode on the Scooby-Doo Where Are You Complete Series box set, which is a really cool box set. It's a great one. You guys should get it. Yeah, and all the footage will be taken from that. But as far as this episode goes, this episode is viewed very highly by fans. It is very classic episode. It's been referenced in many Scooby-Doo media. It even was good enough to be the basis of a crossover with Supernatural. So this episode was very big for Scooby-Doo. This is an episode that a lot of people love and a lot of people talk about. It's probably one of the most famous ones of the Where Are You series. It's pretty much considered one of the best episodes in the Scooby-Doo Where Are You series unanimously by almost every Scooby-Doo fan. But am I in that category? Do I think this is this really one of the best episodes of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Does it deserve the status that it got? Does it deserve to be a classic and iconic episode? Well, let's not waste any more time and let's take a look at the episode to see whether I think it's a good or bad Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode. The episode begins with Scooby, Shaggy, Freddy, Daphne, and Velma, who are all taking a boat to a spooky mansion on an island, a secluded island, and Scooby has been chosen as an heir to the late Colonel Beauregard Sanders, whom Scooby saved from a drowning in a fish pond years before. And it's a pretty creepy night, and there's thunder and lightning going on, which really adds to the atmosphere, so there's that as well. One of the Colonel's lawyers, Cosgood Creeps, comes to greet them and ushers them into the mansion where they meet the other four heirs: Cousin Slicker, Cousin Simple, Nephew Norble, and Sweet Cousin Meldahide. Cosgood informs the heirs that his partner, Cuthbert Crawls, was unable to attend, and the only instructions from the Colonel were to play a record on an old phonograph. So the recording tells the heirs that they must stay the night to get the fortune to his will, and that the mansion is haunted, much to Scooby and Shaggy's horror. And should any of the heirs leave the island before morning, they forfeit their share of the inheritance, and it'll be split among the remaining heirs of the mansion, who are still there at the mansion in the morning. So the whole gang decide to be good friends, and they decide to stay with Scooby for the night, which is good. Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby are getting ready for the night with, the former two in the bedroom, taking turns, reading a book. I think Fred's reading a book, and Shaggy is getting ready to have a snack before he, hits the hay. And there's actually a pretty entertaining scene of him, of a fish, growling at him for trying to, take his fish food. And Scooby decides, to take a bath. So Fred tells Scooby to hurry up after he's in the bath for a little bit. Which I don't know why. Like, are they going to? Is it because he wants to get to bed quickly, or is Is it just because Fred needs to use the bathroom? I don't understand why he's rushing Scooby. Just let Scooby take his time. He's got to get himself clean, Fred. And Scooby's scrubbing up and down, when his body, when a ghost appears from a tile trap door. And the bathtub slides through a secret passageway, and down a chute into a coal cellar, and with Scooby in it. So while he's sitting on a pile of coal, a green chain-rattling phantom appears and is laughing sinisterly. So, of course, Scooby's terrified, and I don't blame him. I get fucking chills seeing that scene, So I would run out of there, too. And he breaks out of the basement door, and he frantically tries to explain to Fred and Shaggy what happened to him. But after, they go to investigate the bathtub, Fred and Shaggy point out that the bathtub's in place and it's bolted to the floor. So they dismiss it, and they don't believe Scooby's story. And they decide, let's just go to bed, forget about it. So later on, the clock chimes midnight, and a green ghost comes out of the clock, goes up the stairs, and goes into Cousin Simple's room and stands over his bed, once again laughing sinisterly. And the gang wake up to this, and they find Cousin Simple gone, and the only thing left is his hat. He's just gone. And they find that on a dusty mirror near the bed, that there's a menacing message warning them to leave the island, and it's signed by the Phantom Shadow, which is what they call the villain in this episode. And so Shaggy and the rest of the gang now believe Scooby's story. And so the gang decide to rig up a dummy of Scooby-Doo to catch the ghost when he comes to grab the dummy, after the rest of the cousins decide that they need to lock their doors and keep safe. So they're going for a plan to catch the ghost and figure out what's going on. But Scooby and Shaggy, of course, don't want to be involved in this, and so they're watching outside from the drain pipe. And when suddenly the ghost pushes the drain pipe loose, and Velma tries to help them, but she gets pulled out of the window too, and the drain pipe swings the three down into a cave below the mansion that turns out to be a secret passageway underneath the house. So they find the Phantom Shadow's footprints, and they decide to follow them, with Shaggy, of course, being the coward he is. Velma wants him to lead. He won't do it. He's scared of shit, and but he caves in eventually after the next cutscene. And the footprints lead to a room with a collection of Civil War memorabilia. And so they find a wagon full of uniforms, and one of the uniforms just starts flying and chasing them out of nowhere. And it creates a humorous chase scene with Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby running away from this haunting flying uniform. And as they're cornered in an elevator that they happen to find, Scooby starts growling and making faces at it, and the uniform falls to the ground, and as a duck inside of it flies away scared, proving that there was nothing to really be afraid of. So Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby go up in the elevator, which takes them to a secret entrance in Cousin Slicker's room. Inside, they go to investigate, and then they discover that Cousin Slicker is missing as well, so he's gone. And so they go outside, the gang all meet up again, and they realize that all the other heirs are now missing. All of them are just gone. Only their hats left. They just up and left. They're just gone. Nowhere to be found. Leaving Scooby as the only remaining heir on the island. So the gang hear an organ playing, and they follow the sound of it. And they find the room with the organ, and they see something written down on a music book. And this is what it reads on the music book.
Beat the organ and watch the floor.
Scooby very enthusiastically decides that he's going to begin playing the organ. But the doors are locked behind them, And when he starts playing the organ, the walls begin to close in. And so they have no way of getting out. So Scooby just starts playing as fast as he can to try and undo whatever activated the trap. And eventually, he succeeds in making the wall stop. So Velma deduces that feed refers to the musical notes F-E-E-D. And then it's not a word, but rather just, an entrant, a clue that, plays to open up a secret passageway. So she plays the notes, and a trapdoor opens up, and the gang climb down the steps to the catacombs. When they get into the catacombs, they find these coffins, which are all very shaped for all the heirs, and one even is shaped well for Scooby, which is fucking creepy, may I add. And the coffins just start opening, and there they find the other heirs inside the coffins, with, obviously the empty dog-shaped coffin aside of them. And like Scooby, I would be scared shitless if I saw something like that. But it's so dark and creepy, because they explain what happens, how they pulled that off at the end, but just the idea that those are the real cousins and they might have been killed and their bodies are in those coffins is fucking creepy as shit. Which is really a good part on this episode to do that. So the two green ghosts appear, and it's realized that they're not actually shadows, but they're real. They're physical. They're physical ghosts, but their shadows help. They're kind of one of their powers, and help make them more spooky and effective as villains. And Scooby faints at the sight of the green ghost, and the gang runs away as after seeing them, and the gang try to carry the now unconscious Scooby, but he hits the top of the doorway and falls down, and Scooby's just confused and out of it as two phantoms stand in front of him laughing menacingly, and Shaggy needs to get him up so they can get the fuck out of there. So he decides to give him a Scooby snack, and which wakes him up. I don't know why Scooby's being this way right now, when he should be concerned about getting the fuck away from those green phantoms, because I think that's more important than getting a Scooby snack, Scooby. I know you're shocked and confused, but come on now. Like, you really gotta... a Scooby snack had to get you off your ass, and even then, Shaggy has to carry him as they're running, but eventually he finally wakes up, and then they continue running, being chased by the phantoms, and they finally hide in one of the chandeliers, and they think they've outsmarted the phantom, but oh no, one of the other phantoms pulls open a trap door from the ceiling and cuts it loose, and it falls to the floor. So now, separated from there, Scooby and Shaggy find a wine rack in the basement, where they just left, and they use the corks as ammunition against the phantoms. It's a really great, entertaining chase scene. Just seeing the cousins, all in coffins, and then Shaggy and Scooby have to evade these ones. It's very comedic too, but it just has a nice blend to it. I really like the chase scene, and it's really an awesome scene.
Well, it's about time you woke up. We fooled that goofy ghost this time. He'll never find us up here. Everywhere we look, Scoob, giggling green ghosts. Hey, a wine rack. Don't fire till you see the green of his eyes. Right. Fire!
Another scene that I also enjoy is that after that happens, and when Fred, Daphne, and Velma evade the green ghost, after a phone rings and the ghost picks it up, and then they get enough distance to get away from him. There's a hilarious bike sequence that Shaggy and Scooby just are on a bike, and they don't realize that the Phantoms are behind them, and it's just a really, it's perfect Shaggy and Scooby comedy right there. Just a really entertaining and funny scene from our cowardly duo.
Faster! They're like gaining on us!
So after they get off the bikes, Shaggy and Scooby run into a closet, and they emerge wearing dress clothes from back in the day, like from the 1800s or 1700s, basically period clothes. And they set up a record player, and they start dancing with the Phantoms, and Shaggy cleverly decides he's going to use this to his advantage, and uses him and Scooby use their little funny dance sequence as a way to trap the Phantoms. And so they lead them into the organ room and take what they learn, and Shaggy types in the notes on the organ, and which opens the trap door, and they send the Phantoms falling into the basement. It's pretty funny, but it's also great because it shows how cool Shaggy and Scooby are for thinking on their feet and using what they learned earlier to get away from the Phantoms and lose them. It's a great sequence to show how not just their comedy, but how they can think on their feet when they need to.
Grab your partner!
So after that, the gang finally all meet back up, and Velma notices that Shaggy has gotten green paint on his hands, and she asks him where he got it from, and he said that he got it from dancing with the ghost. So this clicks an idea for Fred, an idea on Fred's head, and he decides what he's going to do to trap the ghost. So he devises a trap, which includes a fan, soap suds, a spring-loaded ironing board, and a washing machine. So Fred lays out the trap, he explains how it works, and in a nice reversal of roles, instead of Shaggy and Scooby being the bait, it's Fred, Daphne, and Velma. What a nice role reversal, and what nice, fresh, concept. This is the first time in the series that I think Fred, Daphne, and Velma are the bait, not Shaggy and Scooby. And that's really awesome to freshen up the formula and do something new where, especially this early on, where normally Shaggy and Scooby are always the go-to guys to be, who, are the bait and lure the monsters or ghost into the trap. But this episode does a nice job of differentiating itself by making Fred, Daphne, and Velma do it. Now, they still do a thing where Scooby fucks up, basically, and it backfires because Scooby hears Daphne say the word now because Fred told him, Scooby, when I say now, you turn on the fan. And Scooby obviously didn't listen because Daphne said it, and he turns it on not only too soon, but he does it the wrong way, which I don't know why it would have a reverse effect on it. But it sends the entire contraption airborne, so Shaggy gets, was on top of the laundry, on top of the washing machine, and he gets sucked in with Scooby, and it turns into a flying washing machine. So, Shaggy says that he can't keep control of it, but somehow he's able to get control of it long afterwards. So, I don't know what that was all about, but I don't know if, but he eventually is able to get control of it. Him and Scooby, are able to catch the ghost, which is good for them. At least they were still able to manage catching the Phantoms, despite their fuck up. Not really Shaggy's, but Scooby's. I don't know why Scooby didn't listen I mean, didn't he hear Fred's instructions? Fred said when he yells now, not when Daphne says it. I don't know why he thought that to do that early, but obviously they need a way to, incorporate Shaggy and Scooby into capturing the Phantom, even though they did a role reversal. And I think that's, it's too bad Fred's trap didn't work, because it would have been interesting, but they still, in a way, but they still capture the Phantom, so it's good. I like the scene. It's a really, it's a nice role reversal, and I just like how Shaggy and Scooby Cat are, like I said, think on their feet by, steering the washing machine and still catching the Phantoms, even though they don't have control of it at first. They're able to successfully get control of it and, capture them.
Look out! They took the elevator down to the tunnel. I can't steer this crazy machine. We'll take the shortcut. Hang on! Got him! Looks like these ghosts are all washed up.
So the gang unmasked the Green Ghost, and guess who it is, guys? It's the creepy lawyers, Cosgrove Creeps and Cuthbert Crawls. Wow, what a shocker. The guys who have Creeps and Crawls in their last names are the menaces. To be fair, at least there's a good amount of suspects in the episode to make it worthwhile, but they were so... But it's kind of funny that they made it pretty obvious by, in their last names. So they painted themselves to be green ghosts as part of a ploy to scare all the heirs off the island so they can keep the $1 million fortune for themselves. And even as they successfully scared the heirs away, they added realistically painted dummies into the coffins to make it look like, make them look like the cousins were victims. And as the only heir still on the mansion grounds, Scooby, of course, gets all the money. He inherits all the money. He's the only one left, so he was brave enough to stay the night. And but unfortunately, he learns that it's all worthless Confederate money, so that's a shame. And you would think as their lawyers, Creeps and Crawls would have known that the Confederate money was worthless, so I'm not sure exactly why they didn't know that beforehand. I'm assuming, did he not show them the money? But hey, the episode ends on a good note for Scooby as a floating bone materializes. So one thing good comes for Scooby, as he isn't afraid of haunted bones, and he still gets something. He still gets a treat for for not only saving the Colonel's life and being put in his will, but also solving the mystery of his haunted mansion. So good on him. He got what he wanted. I'm going to give Season 1, Episode 16 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? 5 stars out of 5. So normally I would start a 5 out of 5 episode, outro with the negatives of the episode. I actually don't have any negatives for the episode. I do have two nitpicks that I will bring up in my positive section of the review, which will be in a couple seconds. But yeah, I don't have any negatives for the episode. This episode is pretty much perfect. It doesn't have any major flaws that hold it back from being perfect or drop it down a rating. There's really nothing remotely wrong with the episode. There's just two nitpicks that I can make that are annoying but aren't really negatives for me, and I can get past them because I can find good things about those nitpicks. But let's just get into the positives, because I have a lot of things I want to say about this episode, and all of it being positives. So normally, as always, I'm going to start with the gang themselves and how they are. The gang are all great. They're all fun. They're all great in this episode. So with Shaggy and Scooby, our main comedic duo, they're their usual funny self. They're just as funny as they were in the last episode. They always are. But the comedy is really on point with them. I like their comedy in this episode. They have a lot of great moments. And I like that they help trap the ghosts later in the episode, but also, like I said, using their quick thinking, to trap, during the dance scene, to, Shaggy using his quick thinking to put the ghost down the trapdoor was really cool. And I just also like that. I just liked all that stuff, and I liked the role reversal too, and that Shaggy and Scooby got to instead of being the bait, they sit around and waited until they trapped the ghosts. But I also like hearing about a good deed from Scooby's past. It's great that Scooby got, that a good deed from Scooby's past was, rewarded and brought up in a mystery. It's nice hearing, the gang doing some good things in their past, or something that's really interesting that helps them. It makes Scooby feel more heroic and very great, and this very much is Scooby's episode, as he plays a huge role in this episode, because he's one of the heirs to the fortune, and to the for the will. So this is pretty much his mystery, his episode. So, and even though he gets the worthless money, I still like that he even gets rewarded with a haunted bone at the end. Which is at least great, because at least Scooby doesn't at least get some type of reward for all the heroics and good shit he did throughout the whole episode and the stuff in the past. Velma is her usual self. She helped piece together the mystery as per usual. Nothing new. She did have a few funny moments down in the secret passageway, in the cave with Shaggy and Scooby. And then the chase sequence with that, flying uniform. She also had a pretty funny moment with the phone and giving it to the Phantom. I actually like that. And then we get to, then we have Daphne. And Daphne, the thing with Daphne is even though she doesn't really do much a lot of the time in the episodes, but I will say that she does at least get to be the bait of the trap with Fred and Velma, which, like I said, was a nice twist and a nice role reversal in the episode. Because normally when Fred comes up the trap, he always makes Shaggy and Scooby as the bait, but the fact that Daphne and Velma were willing to be the bait instead and have that little role reversal was unique and a nice twist, on the episode. It made it feel fresh, and it was just really great to see that bit of role reversal and see them, see the gang, see Fred and Daphne be the bait of the trap rather than the ones who, capture the ghost when, Shaggy and Scooby come through. And Shaggy and Scooby get to play the part of capturing the ghosts instead of being the bait to, bring them to the trap. And Fred, of course, is his usual leader self. He helps lead the gang throughout the mystery. He helps lead out through the way, and comes up with the trap after piecing, together, the green paint. When Shaggy gets, mentions how he got the green paint from the ghost, so there's at least that, and he's his usual self, nothing new, but again, it was a nice role reversal for him, and I do like his leadership throughout the episode and his focus. But yeah, they were all on point. They were all great. Really, no complaints here. Maybe Daphne is the weakest, I would say. But she wasn't overall useless, and she did at least get to play a part at the end with a bit of role reversal, so it was fine. Now let's get on to the mystery. Now the mystery is really engaging and chilling because the main mystery is you want to know why the house is haunted, and you also want to know what happens to the cousins when they disappear. It's a really engaging mystery. The setup is all great. The setup, being Scooby and the gang with these 4 other heirs, along with this lawyer trapped on a house in the middle of the sea, nowhere to go, but there's no boats, so they can't get out, and they're basically, it's very secluded, very trapped, and I'll get into that more later with the atmosphere, but putting the motive out there, saying the money for the will, and and everybody acting creepy and shady, at certain points, or at least the lawyer, creeps was. It just made for a good start to the mystery. I will say that as my first nitpick, which I'm going to bring up, is that the clues seem to not be as strong as they could have been. Like, the clues aren't really... There's no clues really pointing to Cosgood Creeps and Mr. Crawls as the villains. Or... It's more so, it just points towards the ghost being fake, but it doesn't point towards a suspect. But in the end, that kind of works because there is a lot of suspects in the episode. So keeping it open like that helps them make the mystery more engaging, because it really could be any one of these people that could be the Phantom Shadows. There's 2 ghosts. Any one of these 4 cousins or the lawyers could easily be the ghost. So it's good to kind of keep it open anyways, and the clues at least point towards the ghost being not real, which of course we expect that, because it wouldn't be a Scooby-Doo mystery without it being real, and plus that's what I want to see. I don't want real monster shit. I just want a man behind the mask. That's what works for Scooby-Doo. So, but it also, like I said, it helps keep it open, and helps make you think, well, any one of these suspects could be the Phantom Shadows. Now on to the villains. They were fantastic. The villains of this episode, the Phantom Shadows, the Green Ghost, the Green Giggling Ghosts, whatever you want to call them, they're fantastic. They're one of the best Scooby-Doo villains. They're really iconic for a reason. They have such a unique and awesome design. They were creepy. Their design was fantastic. They gave me the chills for a couple sections throughout the episode. And their laugh was just so menacing and creepy. Like, just anytime you would hear them laugh, it's like, oof. Just seeing these guys, and they're rattling chains as they're you can hear them moving around, and it's just like they're just so cool. It's always great with these unique designs. They've really nailed it the past 2 episodes. Last episode with the design and its creep factor, and now this one just does the same thing, and we're really on a roll right now with these episodes and villains and everything, because this is awesome. And their laugh makes them even more creepy, and their powers are great too, like how fast they are, and how their image can be projected onto shadows on the wall, so people can perceive them as shadows and then they're revealed to be actual physical ghosts and not shadows, which is a really cool detail. And I thought the men behind the mask were great. I thought they were just as creepy as their counterparts. Like, you had, Cosgood Creeps, who was very creepy and very suspicious out of costume. So it was easy. So even though it was probably easy to pick him, because of the amount of suspects, the episode does a good job of making you think, maybe it's not that guy. Maybe it's these 4. It could be a good cover, They want the money, and he's acting pretty shady and creepy, but still, he may not be the suspect. So having that this whole huge pool of suspects helps make it not so easy to point him out as the villain. But he's also memorable outside of the costume. In fact, he's been mentioned a lot. He's very famous outside of costume. And here's where my second annoying nitpick is. So they don't show Mr. Crawls beforehand. You just hear his name mentioned. So it is annoying that he's not shown beforehand, because I think that would have been great too. But in a way, I can forgive the episode for that, because Mr. Crawls is at least mentioned and isn't just, at the end he's unmasked and the sheriff or somebody else is like, oh, it's this guy. No, and he's mentioned beforehand. We know of his existence. He wasn't present during the will reading. So that was okay, because at least we knew he existed. So it didn't come as a surprise to be like, who's that guy? No, you knew who that guy was. So that's at least good. It is an annoying nitpick of mine, but again, I can forgive it, because unlike the last episode with Henry Bascom, who just, was talked, he was pointed out by the farmer, like that, which is fine. This episode, they at least mention him. They at least mention Mr. Crawls, so we know that he exists and we know he's there, so he's nothing new. So then you have the motive of the villains. So it's a money motive, yeah. So like I said, that's a common motive with Scooby-Doo. It's usually going to be a money motive. It doesn't really bother me because, like I said, it's a common one. And in a lot of episodes, it works. It's nothing new. It's nothing we haven't seen before. But there is a nice twist where the money was worthless, so it didn't even matter. It is weird how the lawyers didn't know that the money was worthless, but still, it was all right. It works for the episode, and the motive is great because it's given right off the bat. We know the motive right off the bat. We know, okay, there's a money being inherited by these 4 cousins plus Scooby. Any one of these guys could easily want this money for themselves because they don't know it's worthless. They think it's usable money. So I like that the motive is just put out in the open right then and there, and that we know what the motive is right off the bat, and it makes any one of these guys a suspect, so it doesn't make it obvious on who it is. And like I said, even though it's nothing new, it works for the episode. So and then you got the final thing, which I've already mentioned, is the amount of suspects. This has been something that a couple of the past few episodes have kind of dropped the ball on. But this episode did a fantastic job of it. We have plenty of suspects to point towards. Plenty of guys to be like, this could be the Phantom Shadow, that guy could be it, this girl could be it. It's just great that there was a good pool of suspects. That's what makes a perfect Scooby-Doo mystery. This is something that has been lacking for the past couple of episodes. The amount of suspects. In past couple of episodes, there's only been 1 guy, or maybe if you're lucky 2. But this one has 5 that are shown because Mr. Crawls is mentioned. But 6 if you even want to count that, if you want to count Mr. Crawls. So you have 6 guys, 6 people that could be any one of these 2 Phantom Shadows. That's a good pool of suspects. That's a good amount. That exceeds it. Because 3 or 4 would have been good, but 6, that's perfect. because that makes it even better, even more open, even better for us to guess who's behind the mask. And like I said, even though the clues, were not strong, throughout the episode, weren't the best, that and the motive helped make it, feel more open, so that any one of these guys could be the suspect and it could be the culprit. And that's the good thing. And it helps make the mystery more engaging that we have a lot of suspects. The pool is just wide open. We know the motive. The clues leave it open. So it's up to us to decide, okay, which one out of these 6 people could be the man behind the mask. And it's pretty good chances, pretty good odds. So it's just really great, the amount of suspects, and that they finally got that right after a couple of episodes. So it's great that they finally got an episode where we got a good amount of suspects. I'm happy to have that. And finally, I like the atmosphere and setting of this episode. It's awesome. Classic haunted house, just in, kind of, but rather than being on like a hill or anything, it's like in the middle of nowhere on this island, the secluded island in the middle of the sea. You have to take a boat there. The boats aren't shown on the dock, which begs the question how the cousins even left, because the boats, you don't see them in the shot of the exterior shot of the house. So maybe they had boats, maybe there were spare ones in case of an emergency or something like that. I don't know, it just seems odd to me. Or maybe they kept the boats in a separate area, but you would think they'd be keeping in the docking area. So I don't know, it's just weird. But yeah, it was just great. The setting really helped make it feel like secluded, and you felt trapped and enclosed with the characters. You felt like there was no way out. And the atmosphere was great because you have the thunder and the lightning in the sky, and just making it all, and the clouds and around it, just classic haunted house creepy vibe. This is exactly what works for Scooby-Doo. It's really great that the episode makes you feel secluded and enclosed and trapped on this island with the gang. And you're just as creeped out as them because, they don't really have any... They can't leave. It's not like they can just walk out and leave. They got no boats. They're trapped on this island until the morning. So they got no way of leaving. And that's just, that's terrifying. That's creepy. It makes for a compelling mystery and story. And makes it... And, just helps the episode overall. It's just I'm so glad they chose that as a setting. Although they kind of tweak it and change it in the supernatural crossover. I don't know why they did that. I guess they wanted to, shoehorn in a reason to have the Mystery Machine and, the supernatural guys as, vehicle. But it would have been cool had they, done that. Which I will do a review of that crossover in the future sometime. But overall, guys, if I haven't, made it clear enough from my, positive, lightness throughout this review, just this praisal of this episode, I do recommend this episode to fans and newcomers of the show. This is the perfect Scooby-Doo episode, and this very well may be the best episode of the original series. It does everything right, and it really does nothing wrong. Even with the nitpicks that I made, they don't detract this episode at all. Nothing is offbeat in this episode. It hits everything, it hits all the beats throughout this episode. It does everything I want. This is a perfect Scooby-Doo episode, and this is what I picture as a good Scooby-Doo episode. This is a good mystery for the gang, and it's just done very well. And like I said, the nitpicks don't hinder my enjoyment of the episode. So, this is one I can come back to anytime, And it's really a classic and iconic episode for a reason. So I obviously do agree with people. This episode does deserve to be held in high regard because it does everything right. It does what I want out of Scooby-Doo. Like, this is what I want. A spooky mystery, a great setting and atmosphere. The gang are all fantastic. The villains are great. There's a good amount of suspects. You know, the mystery's all great. Just everything's on point. Nothing wrong here. This, very well, if I do a ranking, this could be the best episode of the original series. This could be number 1. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. Please give it a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the episode. Do you love this episode, as much as me and other Scooby-Doo fans? Do you hate this episode? I would be interested to hear that and why you don't like this episode. Or are you somewhere in the middle where you just think it's okay? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know. And subscribe for more Scooby-Doo content like this, or if you're just interested in any of my other content, I got plenty more Scooby-Doo content. I've mentioned this before in my past, videos. Hopefully I will get the final episode of Season 1 this month. If not, it'll be in Scooby Month. And, Scooby Month's going to be great because I missed last year's Scooby Month, so there's going to be a lot of content in September for Scooby Month. I'm going to be doing the Scooby-Doo books throughout the summer specials, so you can look forward to that. So Scooby-Doo will be not be going away anytime soon, and this was a fun episode to review, guys. I had a lot of fun rewatching it and, just enjoying it. This episode and the last one have really been great. I'm glad we're kind of past the not so great Where Are You episodes, and we're starting to get into some good ones in a row. It's really great. The episode's on a streak right now. Hopefully we'll keep the ball rolling in the next episode. I can't wait to to talk about that one. Hopefully it's just as good as the last two. And if I remember correctly, I have a pretty good opinion on that one. But if you want, you can also follow me on Facebook, where I have discussions about things we talk about on both my channels. You guys know that all my updates and polls are on the community tab, so any of that stuff that you want to check out, you can go over the community tab on my YouTube channel for any updates or polls for stuff on the channel. And Twitch, where I hope to live stream in the future. So in my next video, depending on the reception of how LEGO Marvel Avengers DLC Part 3 goes, which will probably be uploaded the day before this, if it does well, I would like to continue my playthrough with the release of Part 4 of my Let's Play of LEGO Marvel Avengers DLC. If it doesn't do well, then we'll do the Friday the 13th video game next. But that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys had a great time. And we got one more to go, one more episode. Hopefully we can finish out Season 1 this month. I would really love it if we could. I'll try my best, but if I don't, you can expect it, for September and Scooby Month. So thanks for watching, and as always, peace out.